Let's get started. Okay, thanks guys for joining. Yeah, as Amir mentioned earlier, these are like particularly demanding times for most of the folks, I believe, around the globe, especially in the US. So I also want to thank everybody that is like connecting now, and also including the members of the ZRX core team. It's hard to find balance potentially, and certainly it's the case for me in these times. But yeah, I hope that all of you guys will basically find the time to build up a safe headspace together with your friends, family, and communities. But yeah, jumping right into the agenda today, there's like I'd say a lot of quick content relatively, but yeah, we're gonna touch on the updates around the exchange proxy and the transformers pattern that we worked on. Lawrence is gonna walk us through that in a minute. Then we're gonna have updates around ZRX API. Francesco is online to talk a little bit more about that. Mesh also is going through an important DB overhaul, and we have on the call Alex. And then we're gonna finish up with a few updates around a new feature live now on Bamboo, and a few other updates towards the end. Last time we actually have introduced this roadmap slide with the intent of giving you guys an idea of where we are investing month by month, and for you to see the progress of basically where these projects are in terms of the stages. So this time you can see basically the highlighted cells indicate what has changed basically since last meeting. We can, hopefully you have the slides also with you in case you have specific questions around items here. Most of them will be tackled over the next few slides anyway. And I know that Joao asked, and thanks for sharing this in the GitHub repo, asked basically to touch on affiliate fees. As you can see from the slide, there hasn't been real development on affiliate fees. It's stuck at the ideation phase. So that's the concrete update if you want. Having said so, we started bringing that up, I think, 3 months ago or so. So I can potentially mention the fact that we have been evaluating different models to implement affiliate fees. None of them really seemed that basically a clear winner in the way that we wanted to implement that. And we kind of parked it for the time being. And the reason why we are confident that we're going to be able to solve it better later is actually the exchange proxy that we're working on is a better way of implementing changes at the protocol level. And as you'll hear soon from Lawrence, we are actively testing that out. Is the first row in this slide. And with that pattern, we'll actually be able to more flexibly iterate on things that include also affiliate fees. So just want to acknowledge the fact that, yes, we haven't made concrete progress because we haven't found really a pattern that convinced us. And in the meantime, we started working on this exchange proxy that will allow us, we are confident that it's going to allow us to solve that in a more elegant and solid way. I'm not sure if Joao is here. And in case, does this give you enough context? Or I'm not sure if people have specific questions before we dive deep on certain topics. No. All right. Let's get started then. Lawrence, floor is yours.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be launching the exchange proxy soon, and this is basically a fancy upgradable extension contract that sits in front of the exchange. And initially, it'll provide a unified function for filling orders returned by ZRX API. Previously, orders would need to be filled either directly through the exchange or the forwarder contract, depending on whether you were selling ETH or not. It'll also support unwrapping the WETH you buy into ETH all in the same transaction. This is something neither the exchange nor the forwarder can do. This new function is called transform ERC20, and it actually allows the taker to pass in and execute generic transformations on a token balance. So filling orders, unwrapping WETH, etc. Those are just individual transformations that it executes. So here's a somewhat confusing diagram that illustrates the flow of a taker filling an ERC20 to ETH quote on the exchange proxy. So first, the taker would request a quote for an ERC20 to ETH from ZRX API, and then the taker would then pass that quote into the exchange proxy. The exchange proxy will pull the taker's input tokens from the taker, and then the exchange proxy will execute a series of these transformers on that token balance. These transformers are actually embedded within the call data from the ZRX API quote. So going through transformers, the first one will fill the orders via the V3 exchange. That turns the taker's input tokens into WETH. And then the second one will take that WETH and unwrap it into ETH. And then the final one will just simply forward that bought ETH to the taker. And then at the very end, before the exchange proxy will return, it will verify that the taker has received the desired amount of ETH that they requested. And this way, the fill function can basically remain ignorant as to what the transformers are doing. Let's see. In the future, we can have transformers that can perform like other DeFi operations as part of a transaction. So for example, you could trade CUSDC for CDAI by like atomically unwrapping CUSDC to USDC and then trading that USDC for DAI and then wrapping that DAI into CDAI and then sending that to the taker. So you've basically done CUSDC to CDAI all in one shot. The state of the transformers right now are they're essentially done, and there's a PR at the bottom that you can check out if you want to take a deeper look into them. And with regards to affiliate fees we're thinking are just going to be in our transformer. So somewhere in the sequence of operations, you could take the transformer would take like a cut of either the taker tokens or the maker tokens and just send that to an affiliate before finishing up the rest of the transformations. Any questions?
I was about to talk before, but I was waiting for this slide. So basically, we are waiting now for these transformers to implement affiliate fees. Is that correct? How much it will be the timeline for this?
For affiliate fees?
Exactly. Because I'm seeing that for being able to do affiliate fees, will be need first for the transformers. So basically, we need first the transformers, and then we need another time. You guys need another timeline to do the affiliate fees. Why I'm asking for this? Because right now, Verdex was bought by Switch, and Switch has like 40 portals at the moment. Portals are like affiliated DEX, and they need this kind of solution to reward the portals that fill that order. So that's why I'm asking like a timeline to give to them to say, oh, in 1 months we'll be able to do this natively on the previous Verdex. That's why I was asking. and because there is a need for it right now to the current portals that we have. So if so likely this transformers, what will be the timeline for it? Can you give any timeline in advance only to us?
Yeah, thanks, Joao. It is a bit tough. It's I want to say that it's more likely that it's going to be more than 1 month. It's actually, I think, if I need to give like a rough estimate, I think it's going to be between the 1 or 3 months type of window. And I want to make sure, as you communicate this to the rest of your team, you understand also why we are going for this, which is mainly two things. First of all, as I said earlier, we didn't really find a good way to implement that in the current exchange, or at least one that really felt basically, fitting our set of smart contracts. The reason why you might ask, okay, why don't we go with that now, is the fact that this is a new exchange proxy requires a new different way of basically setting allowances and managing basically flows of assets. We are testing this right now. This will become the canonical exchange, but we want to be a little bit careful in reducing, or at least starting with use cases that we know, and this is one that basically is one of those that we know and we want to basically prioritize. And realistically, we're going to basically finish up this and test it out, and then we'll be able to implement new transformers. That doesn't prevent, for example, other developers potentially to start helping us, maybe if we don't have immediate bandwidth, if that doesn't match your timelines. But that's mostly
the current solution I have now to use the affiliate is only using the Ford, but the Ford only works with
if to ERC. Yeah.
Basically, I only want like a raw estimation to say them more. Right now, I will be using this implementation, but ZRX team is already implementing a more flexible way to do this, because they already has 40 portals, and it's a demand for them. So I want to say, like in 3 months, this will be available, and I will need like more 2 weeks to integrate it natively on the platform. So basically, these transformers will be like blocks, and also we can do another things like adding blocks and do like atomic operations. So this is basically you can do for all the things. Or this transformation, each transformation will charge a protocol fee, or all the transformations will be only one protocol fee, or this is not the case.
So the protocol fees are charged per fill currently. So the fill order transformer charges a protocol fee for every order that gets passed into it.
Okay.
We are exploring other ways, though, to change this protocol fee structure.
But to be clear, like paying an affiliate fee with a transformer would not charge an additional protocol fee.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for all the information. So I will point it like for 3 months. I think is good now. This estimation 3 months, 6 months. So basically, I will be using the current implementation that will be the affiliate with Ether. So I will point like in 6 months we'll have a full solution natively on ZRX. So thank you for the explanation.
Yeah. And to give more transparency on how we make these decisions, affiliate fees actually we do planning mostly at the quarter level internally. Affiliate fees was part of initially of this quarter plans, but as soon as we kind of investigated more and scoped that out, we realized this doesn't really work. So it kind of it's still like in a high priority topics, but we realized that we were not able to solve this quarter. In a month's time, it's going to be new quarter. We're going to go through the quarterly planning, and we'll definitely make sure, or at least to consider, to have affiliate fees. And I'm confident that with this new structure, we'll have better chances to have it in the roadmap. All right.
I think there was a question about the forwarder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, does this essentially replace the forwarded contract? And yeah, it pretty much would.
What's also interesting to point out is the fact that the forwarder contract will still be live. And if you want, this new exchange proxy is a new extension almost to the current exchange v3. The forwarder will still exist. Imagine it as a imaginary other white box here. So it's still usable, but we feel like this new structure basically allows for more flexibility for the team and for the community to introduce new changes in the pipeline. But if you want, once we test these things out and we learn about how to structure this in the best way, we want basically the exchange proxy to become the canonical entry point. We will run a vote later on this year. And then de facto, the forwarder won't exist anymore in a sense. But in the meantime, yes, it doesn't disrupt your product if you're using forwarder. Any other questions? All right. Next up, I think it's Francesco.
Hey guys, I'm going to give a quick update on the ZRX API, which was mentioned in the previous slide as well. It's mainly on this swap code endpoint. So to give a refresher, the swap code endpoint is this endpoint you can hit. You can tell it, I want to buy some dye and sell some wheat, and I want to buy this much dye. And it'll give you a quote, which is informational, and also is a valid unsigned Ethereum transaction. So you can see the value, the data value, the value. So in this response, there are now 3 new fields: estimated gas, minimum protocol fee, and estimated gas token refund. I'll go a bit more into them in the next slide. So yeah, the motivation, the reason they're there now is, we have these, for at least estimated gas and minimum protocol fee, we have these other values that exist already called gas and protocol fee, which represent the max values for the transaction. So the maximum gas, or a value for gas that we feel comfortable providing, and that we feel confident will make the transaction go through. And in the same sense, protocol fee is kind of the maximum protocol fee that we use to calculate the value of the transaction, but in a realized sense, it may be less. So what we found working with teams and on our own products is that when using these previous values in a UI and to communicate to users, it can result in a sticker shock. Basically, since they're overestimates, they can be kind of shocking. So these new values represent actual estimates on the realized cost. It may vary, but basically we're trying to communicate what the transaction will actually cost. So yeah, and you can see on the right here what a UI would look like that takes advantage of these. So yeah, as I mentioned, estimated gas is what we think the actual gas value. It's a value that we would not be comfortable with giving for the actual transaction because there is some fluctuation and it may revert. In general, the API tries to reduce reverts as much as possible. And then the minimum protocol fee is a pretty deterministic value. Either it's, there's going to be X orders in the transaction, and for every order, you pay a protocol fee. And in general, there's going to be some backup orders, just again to reduce reverts. So the protocol fee value that is already there represents the protocol fee you pay for filling all the orders, whereas this one represents kind of a best case scenario. And finally, we have the estimated gas token refund, which is not really related necessarily to the previous fields. It's just this strictly informational field that provide that gives you a refund value in a way, since the API, since we do own some gas tokens and we do burn them on behalf of our users, i.e. you guys, to kind of save money and get some rebates on the transaction. This only happens for bridge orders, and in general, is capped to 50% of the refund, of the transaction. Sorry, and that's it. Any questions? Cool.
Thanks, Francesco. Yeah, so if you're using ZRX API now, watch out for these new fields, and yeah, for your experience, for your users' experience, potentially these ones are more realistic in terms of what is going to happen. So our thesis is that yes, it should help reducing the sticker shock of the fees that are certainly more painful in the last few weeks with the high gas prices. All right, let's move on to Mesh. We have Alex in the call.
Yep. Hi, guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a large project that's gotten a lot of our attention on the Mesh team recently. So historically, we've been using LevelDB as our database. It's a key value store. We're migrating to a new database architecture where we'll use SQL for standalone nodes that are running inside of a Docker container, for example. And we'll be using Dexa.js for browser nodes. Can we go to the next slide? For you guys, there's going to be a lot of important benefits. So first, we're going to see improved performance across the board, but it's going to be most noticeable for browser nodes. We're going to have new querying capabilities. So we're currently working on designing a new API for Mesh. And in fact, we've been doing user interviews with a couple of our users to understand what you want out of a new API. The ultimate goal is to have one API that you can use across the ZRX suite of tools to access orders from Mesh. So right now we have the SRA endpoint in ZRX API that is eventually going to be deprecated and replaced with one API that you can use if you're querying Mesh, if you're querying ZRX API, if you're inside a browser, or if you're using the RPC interface. It's just going to be one consistent API. So not only will it make it a lot easier for us internally, since we have less code and less things to maintain, it'll also make it easier for our users if they want to switch between use cases or understand how ZRX works and how to get orders. Down the line, it'll also allow us to have more advanced order pruning. So Mesh recently has gotten a lot more usage than we originally expected. And we have been running into some scalability issues with a large number of orders. So it's going to be important for us in the future to keep up with demand and keep up with scale to be more efficient about pruning orders that either have bad prices or are ultimately not as valuable to end users. This will also allow us to have a more robust network topology. So Mesh has the ability to establish custom order filters. It's kind of similar to sharding in the Ethereum network, where it creates different sub-networks. So you can have one sub-network that only cares about a specific ERC 721 token, and another network that only cares about ETH. And some of these networks could actually overlap. So one thing that we'll be able to do in the future is that if networks actually overlap, we can share orders between them. I mentioned technical debt a little bit before. There's one more important thing that I want to mention before we move on, which is this new API, which will be enabled by our database re-architecture, will also make it easier for end users to integrate in a variety of different use cases. So right now, there's actually kind of a complicated and involved process for syncing your database with Mesh's database. So you have to listen for incoming events and understand, based on the content of those events, how to update your database. With a new API, for some use cases, if you don't need to maintain your own database of orders, you can actually just query Mesh directly. So for example, you can just ask Mesh, hey, give me the top 10 orders for ETH DAI sorted by price, and it'll give it to you. So we're excited about potential ease of use and efficiency benefits in this work. Go ahead. I was just going to say if anybody has questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious about order pruning. So are you going to be able to also prune dust or small orders where the protocol fee and the Ethereum gas cost will basically make the transaction pointless?
Yes, we should be able to do that in the future. If anybody has follow-up questions, feel free to reach out on Discord. We have a specific channel for Mesh called Mesh Help. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Maybe is it worth maybe mentioning timelines for this? Like, I know that we are pretty well advanced in this development of that. I don't know if you want to share where we're at or how long we'll have the release.
The database re-architecture will be merged in 1 to 2 weeks. We'll probably start sending out specs for feedback for the new querying API. And then the original plan was to have the new querying API in place by the end of the quarter. We may still be able to reach that target, but it might slip by a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, next ecosystem up call, we should have potentially the specs at the very least kind of in a good place. Yeah, so this basically, guys, is, I mean, for those that are using Mesh directly, is gonna, slim a little bit your infrastructure. You won't need potentially to basically maintain these orders in a DB. So because Mesh is gonna take care of that. For those that are using, well, it's interesting. ZRX API in a way has embedded a Mesh node. So even then, once we have that in place and we bring feature parity in terms of interfaces of Mesh API and SRA APIs, it will be interesting to see whether even within the ZRX API, there won't be needed that internal database. Directly, the endpoints can query Mesh directly. So it will have benefits in the repo of ZRX API as well. Cool. Yeah, then this is me now. So a quick update on Bamboo. I know that Joshua is on the line, so in case I'm saying something incorrect, feel free to stop me. But I wanted to share, first of all, the amazing work that Joshua has been doing the last few months. If you recall, maybe at the beginning of the year, we talked about this new order type that allowed to basically create stop limit orders. And this was basically implementing static call proxy, so static call asset proxy, calling actually a contract that queries chain links on chain oracles. And as written here at fill time, basically these orders call this check stop limit function that basically verifies whether the order is valid or not. And basically, Joshua's worked on that in the last few months. It's definitely not only a matter of creating the order, is actually more interesting the part that involves filling that order and checking the prices regularly. But it's now available on with DAI pair on Bamboo. I took a screenshot of that just yesterday. So basically, I was creating an order at a limit order at 235, and with a trigger price, which is the stop price, if you want, of at 242. So I did a little drawing here for those that are not super familiar with this type of orders. Basically, until the orders of the Chainlink oracles, until the prices of the Chainlink oracles doesn't trigger the trigger price that is specified by the user, the order will be invalid. So even if it's available in the server, in the coordinator server, if you want, of Bamboo, it won't be able to be filled. So it won't be part of the order book. Whereas once it triggers that price, yes, it is available. And the reason why this premium is set is because the basically bots or other takers basically need to be incentivized to fill that order in moments of high volatility. This type of orders are one of the use cases of this type of orders is to make sure that yeah, if there are large price movements, you don't miss the train in a way, both on the upward or in the case of a loss. So sometimes they're also called stop loss in case you're basically setting a price on the deciding a sell order when the price goes down. So yeah, check that out. And yeah, we're basically curious to see people interacting with this. Cool. Questions around this?
So,
Right.
so this
Yeah.
would I have a question. This is Tom. So that since it's calling, since the chain link feeds are like token to ETH, so are there plans to have like two where you can query two chain link oracles back to back if you're going like say like DAI to ZRX or something like that? You'd have to query one and then query the other one in reverse and then combine them. That's what we do in our system.
Interesting.
And so you need two chain link oracles for that.
My understanding, and probably Lawrence and Amir on the call can help here, is that it obviously this check stop limit function is on a contract that implements potentially pairs that are currently supported. But what we could do, or what anyone could do, is to create another contract that has a slightly different function that actually does this two-hop aggregation. Not sure if this is making sense.
Yeah, that's what we were actually going to do. I just wondered if anyone was already working on that.
So yeah, I'll just say that you can essentially implement your own Oracle that just uses this interface and like calls into multiple Chainlink oracles to get the underlying price. So I'll just shoot out a link to our Chainlink contract in the chat here. But yeah, it should be fairly easy to just like create your own that will plug into this because you're passing in the address of the contract in the order.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was going to say as well, it's pretty simple, the actual standalone contract. So if you wanted to make it more complex, you could add in, say, Uniswap and Kyber as well, and set some other parameters if you wanted to make it more, robust, I guess. This is probably only kind of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what you could do with the static cool asset proxy, I think. So it'd be interesting to see what other people come up with.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, and feel free also to propose changes directly in the monorepo. I mean, no need to potentially deploy your own Oracle. I think it's something that maybe we could expand directly the contracts we have.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be very, very beneficial for other people too. Thanks for asking the question.
Sure.
All right. Let's move on some miscellaneous updates. I hope, most of you guys are familiar with Dune Analytics, especially if you're like focused on the DeFi space. It's a platform that basically allows anybody to access DeFi data and build dashboards, share dashboards. All is open. You just need to set up a free account. I think it's pretty powerful and has been used across the DeFi space. And we felt, okay, we need to potentially build basically give the community the power to investigate on how ZRX is doing, how, for example, the staking system is doing more in details, and give the data nerds in a way the ability to build their own stuff. And we actually did that. So what we ended up doing was porting over a bunch of data around ZRX certified. By certified, I mean, basically it's the same type of querying and events that we look internally. So that's that. And we also created two dashboards, one for around trading activity. Basically, it's pretty much what you also see on ZRX Tracker. And together with these two tools, I think you can basically, you have a large spectrum of things that you can build on your own for your investigations. And the other one is around staking. So I also want to point out the fact that, yes, the staking one has something interesting that I believe a lot of people asked in the last few months over Discord and in the feedback channel for ZRX portal. This has also the estimates of percentage annualized returns by pool. That's a pretty interesting stat to look at. So if you're curious, that just open these links and mess around with the data. Let us know what you think. If you have questions, ask us in Discord, and we'll be happy to answer. We are very data-driven team, so we are also happy that we can give everybody the tools to investigate more in details. Another one, we shared this over Discord. Pretty much everybody is familiar with the multi-collateral DAI system that was launched, I think, in November. The MakerDAO community basically established a new process for applying for an asset to become a collateral of DAI. And basically, we decided to go ahead and directly propose ZRX as one of the collaterals. The rationale is mainly this is obviously an open application, so anyone could have advanced that application, and we prefer to go ahead on our end and make sure that everything that was discussed was basically accurate. Also, we felt that, yes, despite the fact that this is in a way adversarial as an use case versus, for example, staking or voting, we felt that introducing opportunity costs is anyway beneficial for the right use of the token, for what the community think is the right use of the token. So we find it positive to have different ways to use the token. And also, obviously, there are indirect, which are not actually that indirect effects of a safer and stable DAI. Obviously, DAI is one of the most traded assets in indexes. So a DAI that functions well is positive for the ZRX ecosystem too. And also another point in the rationale, staking ratio right now is very low. We have 50 million ZRX approximately staked, but yeah, there's a large portion of that which is still not being used for staking. So the MakerDAO community started basically looking into the application. The token, the application received the first green light for what concerns the oracles. They're looking into the smart contracts, legal considerations, etc. They also opened a community poll, which is available right now. I think there are potentially other 5 days left or something like that. So if you're a Maker holder and you're interested in voting these things, just be aware that there's a signal poll open around this application. And finally, we wanted to reiterate the fact that we work with a lot of providers. We have worked and we continue working with a lot of providers around, which are happy to basically offer free credits to all the amazing teams that work with us building this ecosystem. So wanted you guys to be aware of these nice bounties here and how to get them. So the link is there. Not sure, Brent, if you wanted to add more details on this.
No, I think you covered it. I will add that we've had this program for a while now, but the reason we thought it would be a good time just to share this again with everyone here and then also everyone watching the recording is that we've added some new services, Rivet and Taloflow, and we've also revised some of the existing services. So it's a great opportunity for anybody who is interested in building on ZeroX in a full-time capacity. So definitely check it out. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone on the team, including myself, on Discord.
Cool. I think that's all for today's call. I think we have 10, 15 minutes left for questions. So I'll actually do this so I can see if there are questions. Anyone?
Well, I do. It's off the roadmap, but I remember I spoke to Remco at IFPARI in like 2019, I think it was, and basically there was this idea that eventually the ZRX could potentially scale through ZRX rollups. Now there's a few protocols have started implementing that, and it's way off the roadmap. I see that's like it's so many products, so many. So, but do you have anything in mind already, like for scaling, or basically it's Ethereum itself is going to scale? So, I mean, I guess when you go to zero knowledge proofs, then you lose a little bit of the atomic swap value proposition, right?
Yeah, Amir, I mean, feel free to integrate here. As you might recall, we actually started investigating into this problem. We obviously care about scalability, as you know, our mission as ZeroX is to build a world where tokenized value can flow freely. And obviously scalability in Ethereum is kind of a barrier to this mission. So we started looking into that, and Remco is one of the people that have been pushing the most that agenda. So if you recall, last year we released OpenZKP as a result of that effort, and we continued investing in that. And we basically were and are still mostly interested in proving that we can build the capacity and the capabilities to support those type of basically patterns. And we are making good progress, I'd say. And I'm seeing actually not that far the moment where we'll be able to look at, reconvene among ourselves and decide whether this is something we can pursue. But it's pretty positive, I have to say, the progress that we've made. But up to now, we didn't want to talk too much about it, mostly because we were not even sure whether we would be able to reach the right capabilities. But we're pretty confident that we are quite close now. So expect some news on that. I think it's pretty timely, the question, and you're right. In the ecosystem, a bunch of very talented teams started reflecting on this big problem, and we did. I mean, as you know, we worked on OpenZKP and other things related to rollups. We are getting closer to a moment where we'll be able to share more about where we're at. Amir, I'm not sure if you want to add something on this.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you check out the OpenZKP repo right now, you can see that's still in pretty active development. And there is another code base we're working on internally that's like not quite ready to share yet. But yeah, it uses OpenZKP kind of as the cryptography engine to power trade settlement. As for timelines, I think we'll probably be releasing more information within the next month or so, and probably targeting a launch like before end of year or so. I fully expect there to be like UX barriers and stuff like that. It'll still be somewhat experimental around the launch, I would imagine. But yeah, we'll be able to make trades end to end. Definitely does sacrifice some of the composability benefits that we'd get today. I think that's more of a longer term research problem. Any other questions?
Just show the agenda in case you have questions on what you've seen. All right. Looks like we don't have any more questions. Cool. Well, thanks for joining. Brent, you're gonna do the classic process of reaching out to everybody through our channels with the slides and recording. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. And just a friendly reminder, this is this entire meeting, the reason we set it up is so that we can encourage people in the community and the ecosystem to participate. So far, we've gotten a few contributions to the agenda, but we really want this again to be collaborative. So if you have any suggestions on things you'd like to talk about, things, questions for the team, please take advantage of the fact that we put the agenda up early, about a week in advance of the meeting, and just leave a comment on the GitHub issue. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on how this meeting progresses forward. So thanks a lot.
And thanks, Joao, for asking a question last time on the agenda.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.